All right. Elon Musk has lost his damn mind, and in my opinion, he's looking at potentially ruining his golden goose of Tesla. And since he took over Twitter, it looks like he's risking literally losing all of his businesses in favor of taking over this fledgling social media platform. Let's go through how the richest and some would say smartest man in the world is potentially going to lose everything in pursuit of taking over Twitter. One look at the Tesla chart, and it's clear that things have not been going well for the electric car maker since Elon took over at Twitter. But if we rewind the clock to early 2022, it's pretty clear what's been going wrong here. In fact, a brief dive into the timeline of the Twitter takeover answers almost all the questions that we might have as to how exactly we got here, with both Twitter and Tesla in extreme hot water, and it all seems to stem from the same issue. So what happened here? Well, starting on March 25th, we see Elon Musk talking about free speech. Look, we can all agree that free speech is incredibly important. It's a cornerstone of democracy, of capitalism. Free speech is something we all must protect. Then we find out that not only is Elon pushing for more free speech, specifically on Twitter, where he's the biggest profile on the platform, but that he's also bought up a 9% share of Twitter publicly on the stock market. On the 14th of April, this is where the story really begins. Elon makes an offer to buy out Twitter and makes the mistake of publishing a tweet saying taking Twitter private at 420 should be up to shareholders, not the board. And of course, now he's using his muscle as a public figure to force public opinion into thinking Elon is what Twitter needs to succeed. But the big issue here is now he's gotten himself into hot water. He's made an official offer, and he's made that offer very publicly in a way that has pumped the stock market price of Twitter to match that of his offer. He sent Twitter on like a $10 pump, which was like a 25 or 30% pump very, very quickly after tweeting that. Effectively, this was the Twitter version of taking Tesla private at 420, funding secured. If you guys remember, Elon got into some serious hot water by tweeting that, but then the market did its thing in 2022, and the valuation on the market of Twitter started to sink aggressively to the point where Elon didn't really like the price that he had initially proposed to buy the company. This was made pretty clear when he starts tweeting about how the bots on Twitter make it so that he can't tell what the real user numbers are. You could tell he's trying to use this to drive a wedge in the deal to either get a lower price or to back out of the deal completely. And then he tries to back out of the deal, and Twitter says, honey, you got to finish what you started. Because they know that if the deal fails, the Twitter stock will fall so aggressively that it's worth them pulling all the stops out to get the deal processed. Eventually, Elon is forced to finish the deal. He ends up buying Twitter, and all of a sudden, he starts bull posting about how he's creating something called X, the everything app. Let's cue the memes. X gon' give it to you, baby. But here's the thing. We all wanted Elon to take over Twitter, to free the bird, and to effectively let free speech and open dialogue reign supreme. But unfortunately, what's happened in the wake of Elon taking over Twitter has actually been some of the worst possible PR and personal branding moves that I've ever seen anyone make. Now, first of all, as soon as he took over, all of the left-wing media went crazy that someone who's not left-wing was going to be running a social media platform. Everyone spread rumors that he was going to enable the alt-right and all these crazy things. He definitely unbanned people like Donald Trump, who had been deplatformed from Twitter, but then drew the line in the sand where he said he wasn't going to let Alex Jones back on the platform. It all seemed like it could be headed in the right direction, but then we started seeing a very different side of Elon. One of the more controversial tweets he tweeted, "My pronouns are prosecute/Fauci." Now, regardless of what you think about the vaccine, regardless of what you think about pronouns, we can all admit that this one was going to be controversial. But that's not really the big issue. Obviously, personal branding wise, that might have put quite a few people off the platform. A great platform should be pretty neutral. So the perception of Elon Musk and his political leanings really being the driving force behind the platform was scaring a lot of people away. Most importantly, it was scaring away advertisers. We soon learned that Twitter was losing a whopping $4 million per day. So it wasn't surprising when Elon Musk introduced an $8 subscription service for Twitter Blue. The problem is that Twitter Blue's been an absolute nightmare. It completely ruined the ability to tell who's a properly verified notable figure on Twitter and who's just someone who paid $8. It created a horrific impersonation problem where anyone could buy a checkmark, change their name to look very much like a public figure, and start impersonating them very successfully. It also reduced the ease to find notable accounts in your feed. Regardless of how you feel about blue checkmarks, we can all admit that the transition transition to Twitter Blue has been at best a rocky one. But here's where Elon truly went wrong. Here you can see a new list of violations of Twitter terms of service, where it includes linking to any third-party site like Facebook, Instagram, Mastodon, Truth Social, Tribal, Post, or Nostr, as well as third-party social media link aggregators such as Linktree. Now, all kinds of projects, creators that use Twitter as a platform expect to be able to link to their other platforms. It's very normal and in fact crazy to think that you wouldn't be able to use one of your platforms to inform your audience about where else you can be seen. To fight against this is certainly not freedom of speech. It seems almost draconian, and it's a harsher policy than you find with any other social media network. So it really flies in the face of what Elon was saying about trying to promote free speech. What's even worse is this whole fiasco happened just a few days after the Elon doxing incident, where several people doxed Elon's real-time location of his jet. Apparently his son was on it, and he went around personally banning anyone that even mentioned the story, as well as started doing sweeping bans of reporters or accounts that had apparently done any kind of doxing on any other social media, on any other platform at any other time. He became the worldwide doxing police, and it started to become clear that there's not really some code of conduct that Elon has to operate by, but that he's kind of just winging it, and that he's susceptible to any kind of emotional event that happens. And he's taking a lot of this stuff very personally. This unfortunately doesn't line up with the values of being focused on truth, free speech, and basic human rights. It kind of looks like he's down really bad on his Twitter investment, and now he's trying some drastic stuff to try to make up for lost time. But remember, we promised to talk to you about how his Twitter investment isn't just killing Twitter, isn't just killing his own personal brand, but it's actually killing Tesla, his golden goose that made him the innovator of the century, the neo Steve Jobs, and the richest man on earth. And that's because Elon, after promising multiple times that he's done selling stock, has sold $23 billion across 3 different sales of his own personal Tesla stock, which it's clear he's using as a piggy bank to fund his extremely down bad giga-wrecked Twitter buy. We'll go through a little bit more of Tesla in a second, and why Tesla could be in terrible shape and have a way worse and way harsher path to recovery given Elon's personal antics. But first, I want to go through some of the other contradictions that Elon's made on Twitter just since starting the company. First, Elon tweeted, "Comedy is welcome." He really tweeted, "Comedy is now legal on Twitter," which was a way of saying that free speech and comedy were being limited before. But then he bans anyone parroting him or joking around with him. He says free speech for all, but he banned a bunch of journalists, and these are typically journalists and reporters that are aligned with more left-wing or anti-Elon Musk reporting. He said all tweets are equal, but then adds this $8 Twitter Blue verification that puts your tweets up higher than other people that don't pay. Again, that's not saying that free speech is being limited, but you think that a town square for open dialogue shouldn't reward someone who pays over someone who's just there to chat. But most importantly, he said that Tesla would not be affected by his Twitter buy, and that he would spend an equal amount of time between the companies. And yet the third biggest stockholder in Tesla is calling for Elon to step down as CEO due to his complete absence at the company. Again, I don't have all the data, but this is just my perception that Elon is scrambling to try to make this insane Twitter buy make sense, to try to turn a tanking company around, and he's having to leverage and dig into the pockets of the insanely inflated Tesla valuation in order to fund it, because God knows it's going to take a whole lot of money to turn Twitter around when advertisers are fleeing the platform and his personal antics are taking away from the validity of his message about free speech. But more of an issue still, as you can see, is his wealth history, which, if you can see clearly, exploded after 2020. As you can see, Tesla stock, while it did perform okay, pretty much was range-bound between 2014 and 2019, when it finally broke out of its range with a nice pump. But as you can see, none of that compares to what happened since 2020. And of course, we all know what happened in 2020. Pretty much the Tesla stock was the poster boy of free money printing from the Fed and a runaway environment of rampant speculation on the future. The reason why Tesla pumped to astronomical new highs, became 2.5% of the S&P 500 and one of the most popular and successful tech companies and overall brands in the history of humanity, was largely due to Elon's rock-solid personal brand and reputation as the Steve Jobs of the next generation, the innovator that was going to take humanity to Mars, solve climate change, and do so in style. But what happens when that personal brand gets shaken and people start to see Elon Musk in a different light? Since buying Twitter, Elon has been the target of pretty much every mainstream news outlet, pointing out his ego, his lack of professionalism, his erratic nature, and pointing out especially that the slump in Tesla is a direct reflection of Elon's money pit over at Twitter. It's one thing if you're going to make memes. It's one thing if you're going to make jokes. It's a whole nother thing if it's at the expense of an entire network, a global network of investors that have put their hard-earned trust and money into you and your brand. Now, of course, no shade at the Tesla army, but it's clear based on the charts that Tesla's explosive price was a direct product of the free money, extreme quantitative easing that we had in the economy. And the narrative around Elon Musk and Tesla changing the world was almost Bitcoin-esque in its ability to grow and proliferate. But with Elon Musk's brand on the downtrend, we now see that he's effectively waving the white flag and stepping down as CEO of Twitter. The question is, how bad are these losses? And will they continue to affect Tesla? Will Elon Musk's brand be able to recover if he steps away from Twitter? Or is the path to try to free the bird and take over Twitter going to be the one that ultimately causes him to tank the price of the Tesla stock and ultimately the faith in the innovation that is Tesla? Remember, each and every day, more electric vehicles arrive from other manufacturers around the world. Battery technology from competitors to Tesla continues to improve, and their moat around electric vehicles continues to recede. Without Tesla's monstrous dominance in the stock market, their effective advantage over would-be competitors starts to shrink. And so we must remember how very important Elon Musk's personal brand is to cementing all of the success that is Tesla, SpaceX, and now Twitter. Personally, I think Elon lost the plot a little bit here. He got too swept up in being a content creator, and he needs to get back to basics and focus on how to stem the bleeding at Twitter, and he needs to stop dumping Tesla stock to make it happen, because it already feels like it's happened too many times. But at a certain point, he's going to ruin the trust in the Tesla brand, and most likely it will take a very long time for those prices to recover, if they ever do, for the Tesla stock. Personally, I'm rooting for Twitter because I love Twitter. It's the home of NFTs, it's the home of crypto, and its ability to proliferate as a platform and give a true sustainable home for free speech is something I truly support. But the decisions that Elon's made along the way have dramatically shaken my faith in him as a leader, as a CEO, and I personally am hoping for a massive change in leadership style. Because if he doesn't change something soon, it's not just going to be Twitter, but it'll be Elon Musk, Tesla, and his ability to access the insane amounts of capital needed to change the world like he wishes. I'm curious what you think. Do you think Elon's a mad genius misunderstood? Do you think he's pushing for free speech and that's a good mission? Or do you think he's lost the plot a little bit, taken everything too seriously, made it too much about him and not about the mission? Let me know in the comment section below. Are you holding Tesla? Would you buy stock in Twitter if you could? I'm really curious how you guys see this whole situation unfolding. As always, if you enjoyed this, smash that like button, subscribe. We'll be back with more videos very soon. I'm EllioTrades. You can find me on Twitter at EllioTrades, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.